Why play something good like Tier when you can play World Chalice? What's up, everybody? Joe here from Yugioh, back with no one's favorite Link deck. I decided to start playing my World Chalice again. I kept it, pretty simple, like a lot of the core stuff, like Exodius and things like that, like a lot of your basic extenders to help you just make a lot of links and stuff, just with a little bit more spice, especially with a lot of reprints happening and cards becoming cheaper. I feel like a lot more people are open to different cards in their decks. And yeah, we've gotten a lot of different powerful link monsters throughout the time since I've last played this deck, back when links were still fairly new, and we all were like having to play links in order to make other types of monsters, and all those horrible times we don't want to remember. But anyways, without further ado, let's see the monsters. Starting off with our monsters, of course, we still run the 3 Agent of Creation Venus. Reason I love Venus is she gets you out your 3 Shine Balls. Good to spam some links. And, if they try to Ash her, it'll stop one, but you could just do it again. So Shine Ball, Venus, pretty self-explanatory. Exodius pairs very well with them. He's going to shuffle the Shine Balls back in the deck, allowing you to recur that same Venus twice in a turn. And on top of that, he'll get a lot of your link monsters back from the graveyard to the extra deck to recycle them and use them again, because you might have used a lot of your links to climb up. One Diviner, because you won't utilize her how most people do in this deck, but the reason why I like her is because if you open a bunch of monsters, and she's another target for Transmodify, she can dump a leaf from your deck to your graveyard, and then you could pitch another monster from your hand to get her back, and then she can kind of help you with getting those World Chalice monsters in hand, so you could start, assuming you have other things to use, linking and getting World Chalice monsters on board, so when you link them, you can start summoning from your hand and doing the little basic things that World Chalice can do. And the last non-World Chalice monster besides Handtraps is going to be your Christia. Obviously, you kind of have to hard draw this, but the thing is, it's like if you draw this and you happen to open it, and let's say you're going first, which you're going to want to do a lot in this deck, it's just so broken. I mean, nobody can special summon. If you can set up the right negates, it's pretty hard to get around, and it's just an awesome card. For the World Chalice monsters, of course, my ratios, I think they've always been a little bit different than most people like. I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff, but I never really liked like the level 4 normal and things like that. I just keep it very simple, just the 3 Lee, because, Searcher, really easy to recur her. It's a once per turn, but still good. 3 World Legacy World Chalice, because I feel like this is one of the most important ones to start with in the hand. Mainly just because once you've done this extra normal summon with like Imduk, this goes and gets 2 monsters straight out the deck when you link with it. And then for my normals, I'm running the 2 Chosen by the World Chalice, because he's a E-Telly target, and E-Telly's at 3. And then of course the 1 World Chalice Guard Dragon. I used to run 2 of this, but I find that I don't really like, if I'm gonna get the full combo and not be stopped, it's usually a win, especially like testing with friends and things like that. So I figured he's more of like, again, another extender, and if you open a bunch of him, can't even use him twice in a turn. So, and it's really easy to get to the specific World Chalice monsters when it's going right, And that's pretty much it for our main deck monsters, besides Handtraps, which I'll get to in a bit. And for our spells, it's a pretty lowish, I mean, not really lowish, but considering how many monsters we have, I guess, yeah, spell count. But the best, in my opinion, for the whole deck is the Transmodify. I mean, if you open Lee, if you open a stupid Shine Ball, if you open Diviner, this just helps you get straight to a Venus. And a lot of times you can summon a Lee, search, then bounce the Lee away for a Venus. And it's just an amazing card. As mentioned earlier, 3 E-Telly, same thing. E-Telly is going to get you out monsters easy, especially a normal monster, which will help you make Imduk, which will help you get an additional normal for a World Chalice. So it's just a great extender. You could even use it as an interrupt with Ghost Ogre on your opponent's turn in a way. So it's just a really good card, and being at 3 is just always going to be busted for this card. Glad we can do it while we can. For the same purpose of just trying to go off, we're maining 2 Unexpected Die. Uh, funnily enough, I've run this in a lot of decks, and I never really used to run this in World Chalice. It might be in one of my old profiles, but I can't recall, to be honest. And it's just a good card, especially whether you're going for first or second, for the same reason as the E-Telly, just to get that level 3 World Chalice monster out, and just to get him out on the board and be able to start linking, make a link spider. It's amazing what a link spider can do for this deck. Going on to a little bit of our like power spells, I guess. We're running 2 droplet. Now you don't have to run droplet necessarily in this deck. It's just I felt like this deck specifically, not being that strong, can use everything it could possibly take. And then I'm also maining 2 crossout designator, because there's only certain things like to fear for hand traps for this deck. So like for those specific ones, you probably want to make sure you stop them. And that's why I run crossout designator with a little bit of personal choices, and you can obviously run what you feel is more dangerous to your deck. And then lastly, 1 World Legacy Succession, 1 Called by the Grave, called by for the same reason as crossout designator, because hand traps suck. And yeah, I guess you technically could go 3 crossout designator and a called by, but I feel like that's a little overkill for this deck. And Succession is just a really good card. Monster board does something to zone a link points to. And then lastly, for our hand traps and our traps, I'm doing the 2 Ghost Ogre in the main, because he's another target for your E-Telly. Plus, I'm not that much of a meta player, but I've heard Ash is a little falling to the wayside right now, and like more hard removal and things that are like Droll and the DD Crow and Ghost Ogre. A lot of other stuff is starting to be good. We have the 1 Herald, because it's limited now, and it's still a good card, especially in this deck with a bunch of fairies. The 2 Infinite Impermanence, and then weirdly enough, I'm maining 1 Nibiru because of crossout designator, and because this deck would get wrecked by Nibiru. You summon a lot in this deck before you even really get something done. Like just the Venus play alone is like 3 summons, or assuming you didn't transmodify into the Venus, which could be already 4 summons right off the bat. And then the first little link 2 you make that's supposed to get something better. Obviously they'd wait till you had a more intimidating board, but it's just the point that you summon fast a lot quick in this deck. So Nibiru definitely wrecks you. You could easily, change it out for Ashes or Droll and Locks or different things you think. A Veiler also is pretty strong against Venus and other cards in this deck, but this is just the lineup I've chosen to main that I feel the most comfortable with. And then lastly, 1 World Legacy Sorrow. This is also in the main, because this card becomes really important, because in building your board, it's searchable, and this is a counter trap. And the reason I like this is because if you make your board of like an Appaloosa and a bunch of co-link stuff, like a Trigate Wizard and things like that, there's no point if they just open a Dark Ruler, so this is that saving grace for that. Unless you're like Abe, who one time when we dueled had 2 fucking Dark Rulers in his hand, and I guess that shit's not once per turn, and since this completely negates the activation, how that goes. But if that fluke ass situation doesn't happen, you're good. So stop in the Dark Ruler no more. Very powerful play. Now onto the extra deck. So extra deck also hasn't changed too much from the past in terms of a lot of the core stuff I used to do, from all the combos I would see online and all the basic World Chalice stuff that you kind of have to run. Like, that's one thing that's kind of funny about World Chalice to me, is there's always going to be a big chunk of it that's very cookie cutter, and it's just kind of good, so you don't want to change it anyways. But I still have the Link Spider and the 3 Imduk. Imduk is obviously just really good for that extra additional summon. Link Spider can help you with those bricky hands of the Shine Balls. There just a bunch of different utility reasons. Of course, a couple of the Nightmares. We have the Cerberus and the Phoenix. Obviously in this deck you could actually utilize their co-linking abilities a lot too, which is great for the draws and the protection and all that stuff with the Nightmares. Still running the 1 Ib. Ib is probably one of the biggest monsters you could swap out here if you see, because I'm still a little bit behind in the times and relevant monsters, and I know, funnily enough, the girl that's on this mat could be useful in this deck too, but I still like her for just how I've been using the positioning of my monsters in my little combos I've been practicing. And then of course Lib, because she's going to search you and set your World Chalice spell and traps, which is going to help you a lot, either to extend with succession or go for your counter trap to protect yourself. Arum, he is kind of on the fence for me right now, because he still helps because I'm still running like a more old school version of a lot of the combos in this deck, but sometimes I feel like he's a little bit dated. So let me know in the comment section below how you would tweak and replace some of these monsters in the extra deck, because I'm definitely curious. I'm also still running the Tri-Gate Wizard because I still like that old school, just make a co-link board of some negates and be protected. And now it's even funner because if I do get any extenders on top of the basic combos I do in this deck, it's nice to end with like an Appaloosa, Tri-Gate Wizard. You have your counter trap set. It's kind of hard to get more than, and you know, they're protected by the nightmares. And then depending on what other cards you draw, who knows, you could even get a couple extra monsters on board. But Tri-Gate Wizard is still nice for that Omni Negate and banishing the card he negates. Unicorn, because Unicorn's just good. He's just always been good in my opinion. Running the Firewall still. Yes, we can no longer utilize the summoning effect because I don't have a single Cyburst monster in this deck, but like I said, with extenders and different things, it's still nice to add a compulse to your board of negates, like as an extra form of interruption. Then of course Appaloosa, because super negates for monsters. She's really easy to make. I mean, Appaloosa in a deck like this is something you could honestly swap Firewall Dragon out for Access Code Talker if you wanted. I just personally am not running Access Code Talker in this deck. The one Underworld Goddess, because this is a Link deck and I really wanted to experiment with her, and it's kind of worked out, especially in these going second matchups sometimes. And then of course lastly, the one Borreload Savage Dragon. You may be wondering like how I really make this in this deck. Honestly, the main way is with your level 5 World Chalice and then a Ghost Ogre, but it's doable and it's nice to pop off, especially because you usually have so many links in your grave. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the extra deck. Let me know in the comment section below if you want to see a 2-minute combo for this deck. If we get at least 50 likes on this video, I will do a 2-minute combo for a World Chalice. See if I can bait y'all for once. But no, seriously, I'll probably do it anyways. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comment section down below if you're still playing World Chalice like me. What do you do in your World Chalice that's different? And any tips and tricks you guys have for the World Chalice community, speak amongst yourselves. Peace.